Hello, welcome to Unseen Hands Healing. I'm Amanda, and this is going to be a collective reading for all of us during this time of unrest as we deal with COVID-19. So the way this is going to work, I'm going to take about 10-15 minutes to show you the cards that came through for a collective reading, and then I'm going to get into a more specific reading for each sign of the zodiac. And so after the collective reading, if you would like to jump to your sun, moon, and or rising signs, you can look in the description box below for the timestamp associated with that so that you can jump right to the section of the video that's most applicable to you. Okay. And for those individual readings, I'm going to be pulling a card for your guide during this time. And I'm also going to pull a doorway card that is looking at the opening, the opportunity that's available at this time. Then I'll also pull a portable fortitude card of protection. Okay. So let's get into the collective reading here. Part of what's coming through, especially as I was meditating before pulling cards here, I was brought to something that happened to me the other day as I was taking a walk around the block. I encountered a playing card face down on the sidewalk, and many folks will find playing cards and see them as a message or some sort of omen of divination, something like that. And so, of course, curious, I turned the card over and was surprised to find that the card was blank. And I was a bit shocked at first. You know, it's kind of rare that you see a blank playing card. I expected to see the 2 of hearts or maybe, you know, the 7 of spades or whatever. And here it was completely blank. And so a couple of messages are coming through as this moment sticks in my mind. The feeling of shock and like slight unsettled energy that came from that blank card, I think really speaks to this collective feeling of looking into the future and not knowing what's going to happen. You know, as we deal with this coronavirus, there's a lot that we don't know. There's a lot that remains to be seen in terms of how this is going to unfold globally, let alone in the United States where I'm speaking from, and in our own individual lives. And so I think looking at a blank card is a real symbol of what it's like to stare into the face of complete unknown that this virus is bringing, and the fear that can come along with that. So that's what's coming through on one hand. On the other, you know, as I remember that I'm using the cards as tools to bring me further into the present moment rather than projecting so much into the future, part of that angle, that perspective on a blank card brings me to this idea of a blank canvas, an opportunity that we may be invited into at this time to have a reset collectively, to look at things from a completely fresh perspective. A blank canvas shows me the opportunity to get completely creative, to paint a new picture, to write a new story. So as we stare into the complete blankness of the unknown and all of the fears, worries, anxieties, and feelings of restlessness that come along with that, I think there's also an opportunity to dip into new ways of thinking, new ways of doing things, innovating in terms of how we connect, thinking outside the box, or rethinking entirely the ways we operate as a society and our infrastructure. So all of that's coming through in my mind. And then we've got this beautiful collective reading. So I pulled from the Mary L. Tarot, and here's what we got. The Chariot, the 4 of Cups, and the card of collective victory, the 6 of Wands. I'm into it. So first we have the Chariot, and what I'm getting from this card is something a bit dualistic. I'm getting this image of, see this energy here that almost looks to me like arms wrapping around, gathering energy, gathering around this energy of a wolf pack. Makes me think of something I read once about wolves, where as they travel in a pack, they put the most vulnerable members of their community in the middle of the pack and the strongest members of the community in the front, leading the way forward, and in the back, making sure everyone is able to keep up and come along on this journey. And so it's like the strongest member of the group has to move at the pace of the most vulnerable, because the most vulnerable are out front. So even though that wolf could move super fast up front, full speed ahead, they purposefully position themselves to move at the pace of the most vulnerable in the collective. And I think that is a really strong message for all of us right now in terms of the ways that we are and are not affected by this coronavirus. There's a lot of messaging going around of like, or thoughts going through most of our heads at some point of, well, there's hardly any negative symptoms associated with this virus, or most people don't really die from it. You just kind of get a cold and then you move on. And it's like, that might be true for you as one of the stronger members of the population, but you could be a carrier to pass this on to a more vulnerable member of the population who wouldn't be so lucky, who wouldn't have such an easy time with this virus and navigating that in their immune system. So there's this beautiful message of like bookending the communal response and the responsibility of members of the community who have stronger immune systems to look out for and move in the mindset and at the pace of those who are more vulnerable in our population. So really gorgeous message happening here. But the duality that I'm feeling is this idea of the Chariot of gathering all of the resources, all of the energy into this idea of like contraction or containment, which is very like yin energy, this idea of like gathering everything into the center, containing it, bringing it into stillness in order to move forward in an expansive way. So as we are containing and gathering our resources, our communal resources into the center here, there's also this beautiful heart and mind and spiritual expansion happening. See that? There's a beautiful rose flower blooming at the heart center, and it seems like this person's like mane fur is expanding outward around their mind. So there's both an opportunity here as we are being asked to move into contraction, into containment, to also expand in other ways, to expand the heart, to move from the heart, and to recognize that heart-centered action is how we move forward at this time. Gorgeous card for us collectively. The second card we have here is the Four of Cups. The Four of Cups in the tarot traditionally talks about feeling stagnant, feeling like you are being held in place, and the emotional frustration, angst, restlessness that can come with that, the resistance that can come with that. And I think that's something a lot of us are dealing with right now as we are being sort of forced into a lack of productivity in a lot of ways, or to rethink what productivity means for our society, but for also each of us individually. We can get into this Four of Cups energy that is just like absolutely busting at the seams and like trying to bust out of our containers. And so in this card, we're seeing a force much larger than us, the ocean. A force, you know, standing next to the ocean, we are peons. We are these tiny little energetic beings compared to such a huge force, and that can make us feel, that can give us beautiful perspective, but it can also make us feel very powerless to be subject to such a huge force, an ever-changing force. And I think that's a really perfect allegory for what many of us may be feeling in the face of this virus that is very difficult to contain, just like water, just like the ocean. And so as we are moving through this very tumultuous energy, there's a gift that is washing up on shore for us in the form of this conch shell. And the symbol of the conch for me is a symbol of being invited into listening. We pick up the conch and we hold it to our ear and we hear the ocean. We hear the rhythm of the sea, the sounds of the sea. We tune in to the undertow. We tune in to the currents that are happening beneath the surface. And that's what we're being invited into here. I'm getting this image of like the spiral inside the conch that creates that sound, echoing the spiral of our own cochlear anatomy, our own inner ear. I'm finding that comparison to be really beautiful. And so I think that there's a gift in the midst of all of this energy, a gift in the midst of containment, restlessness, emotional frustration, emotional tumult, riding the waves of this thing that is so much larger than all of us. There's a gift washing up on shore here, if we can hear it, if we can tune in to the undertow. And the final card coming out for the collective is a message of hope. It is a message of collective victory here. We see the archetype showing up of Archangel Michael, who is often invoked when we need protection. People call on the Archangel Michael to come with the sword of truth as a warrior to protect them. And here we see that shown in the angel slaying the dragon. I think this card is offering us the idea that we collectively can be victorious in the face of this virus, but it is going to take us gathering our energy, moving from a heart-centered place in terms of the ways we think about moving forward as a community during this virus and after this virus, if there is an after, when there is an after. If we can tune in and listen and drop into that yin energy, drop into that stillness, rather than fighting the containment we are being called into, finding the opportunity, the invitation to listen and to go within and to hear what messages are coming forth, what this forced containment is revealing about each one of us and about us collectively. And those things, I think, could lead us to victory here. And I love the Six of Wands here because it's a public victory. It's very much collective energy, collective spirit. And so it's a gorgeous thing for me to see this coming through the cards. Now, I also pulled 3 cards from the Divine Doorways deck, right? The first one to come out is this one here. The ray of light shining through this hallway of dark doorways. And on the back of each card is a little message, and I'm going to read it to you. It says, "Change beckons. The path is shifting. The road leads a new way. Do not be alarmed as change beckons today." This thing is changing everything. It's like life before COVID-19, life after COVID-19. It is that big, and it is sweeping us globally. It is sweeping us here in the United States, where I'm speaking from. It is sweeping us individually. This is change. Change is here. It is leading us onto a new path. And so we are being asked to adapt. Yes, there is much to be alarmed about, but this message says, do not be alarmed. Change is here. Change is happening. This is shifting us into a new way, perhaps, of moving forward as a collective with a greater sense of community. Another card that came out here the divine guardian. My jaw really fell open when I read this card. It says, do not be nervous today or tonight. The path you are on will lead you just right. And that speaks to me of this victory. And there's even like a little echo here with the splashes of orange in these cards. It's calling us to say, listen, there's much to be nervous about. There is much to be nervous, alarmed, restless, afraid. And yet the message here is do not be nervous today or tonight. Trust that this path, this change, the shift that is happening will lead us just right. It will lead us where it needs to lead us, wherever that is. A really, really profound invitation into trust in the face of that blank card, that complete unknown future. And then here we have this all white doorways, which again speaks to me of that blank card I turned over. It speaks to me of the layers of that conch shell, that spiral, the inner ear. Okay, there's a lot of crossover imagery here speaking. And it says, a moment's joy. Sand through the hourglass, yet time could stand still. A moment lasts forever in the bliss of the heart's will. A moment's joy. So it literally says, sands through the hourglass, yet time could stand still. I think for many of us, this feels like time is standing still. Like suddenly our world is coming to a halt. We are in a holding pattern. And so as time is standing still, feels like it's standing still, yet of course the sands are still pouring through the hourglass. And it says, a moment lasts forever in the bliss of the heart's will. And that goes right back to this heart-centered approach for me. There is light. Out of both of these cards, which speak about don't be alarmed, there's a lot of change happening, trust the path is leading us right. There's this bright doorway, almost completely made of light. And it talks about coming into the joy of the present moment that is found in our heart. And to me, that's the opening. That's the opening that is available to all of us here through this conch shell, to drop into our own selves and find the joy even amidst such fear, such anxiety, to see that blank card as a blank canvas. Okay, thank you all for joining me in this collective reading. I am going to go into the individual zodiac readings now. So again, if you'd like to skip to your sign or signs, click the timestamps in the description box below and I'll see you right over there. Please also note that at this time, I am offering a 10% discount on my readings, all right? That all the information for personal readings is available on my website, unseenhandshealing.com. I'm opening that 10% discount to everybody that would like a personal reading at this time, not just my Patreon patrons, okay? So check that out. All the personal reading offerings that I have available on my website, which will also be linked below. All right, y'all, take care. Thanks for tuning into this collective reading, and I'll see you in your individual reading for your sign. Aries, hello. Thanks for joining me here. We are talking COVID-19. So I already pulled cards for you here and I'm going to share them. The first card is from the Mary L. Tarot, and I pulled this card asking, who is your guide through this time of unrest? And beautifully, we got the 10 of Pentacles, the 10 of Discs. And Aries, I'm seeing this as you, this gorgeous ram with, look at all of the horns absolutely bursting out of your head. And I also love that you're on this horse. It really speaks to me of like forward movement. And the other cards are speaking to that too. I'll get to that in a second. But the horse is moving. It's not standing still. It's actually flying through the air with you on its back. And it's like you've packed up all of your pentacles, all of your coins in perfect order, and you are able to carry them with you as your energy now moves forward. There's also this really interesting dynamic happening in this card for me, because the 10 of Pentacles, the 10 of Discs, this is earth energy. This is very grounded, rooted energy that is associated with like all of the having everything you need in terms of physical resources, tangible resources around you, having a safe sense of home, having family, safe people around you that you feel safe with, having the resources you need to feel safe. It's speaking to me so much of safety, and yet it's like you've packed all of those tangible things up with you and you've risen up into the air in this card. Or perhaps that is where you are being guided, to take all of that sense of rootedness, the ways that we feel safe in the world physically, and to now elevate that so that it can come with you on a journey, so that you can now move your energy. And in order to do that, it's like in order to now shift into something else, you've got to be able to hold that sense of security and safety inside of yourself. But I think this card is calling you into a larger sense of abundance, greater abundance within you, rather than a sense of scarcity, which would perhaps lead you to cling to the things around you outside of you that make you feel safe. I think this card is asking you, what do you possess within you, within your own sense of self-worth, that makes you feel full, fed, safe, secure? Because that's what you need to take with you as you rise up into the clouds here and get a higher perspective. So then, your card from the Divine Doorways deck, it says heart healing. This is the opening. This is the opportunity that is opening for you at this time. And it says, mourning now has had its time. M-O-U-R-N, grief, mourning, okay? Mourning now has had its time. Do not pay it a single dime. Emerge from the darkness. A new day starts. Let light embrace the healing heart. This is really fascinating to me, Aries, because what we're seeing is you like at the bottom of the stairs here, in like the dark of this cave, and now there's a light shining from above. It's calling you to ascend out of the darkness, up into the air, up into the light. Darkness meaning up out of grief, mourning, emotional heaviness. You know, it's so interesting to me because it feels, you know, one of the parts of the body that it's most affected by this COVID-19 is the lungs, the respiratory system. Some people who get this virus are needing ventilation to help them breathe. It primarily affects people with respiratory distress or respiratory vulnerability, right? And so in Chinese medicine, the lungs are associated with grief, with holding on to grief, sadness. And this card is asking you to release that melancholy, to release that grief, that mourning, to say, don't spend another moment on it. The time for grieving is over. It's time to rise in lightness. It's time for the heart to open, which goes back to that collective card reading with the Chariot, with that beautiful rose at the center of the heart. It's time for this heart opening experience. Heart healing is what moves you forward in safety, in security, into something new. And I can feel this sense of movement, because then out of Karina Dross's deck, the Portable Fortitude, we get this card of protection for you that says protection from stagnation. it's so perfect, you know, in this time where we are being asked to contain ourselves inside of our homes and to not necessarily move about the world in other ways, and yet you are being called out of stagnation. So it's like, what kind of stagnation are you being called out of, and how can you move out of stagnation, even perhaps within the confines, the physical confines that this virus is requiring of us at this time? And so what we're seeing here is the clearest Aries allegory that I always love to talk about, which is the sprout bursting from the seed, bursting from the soil, the darkness of the seed, the darkness of the soil, up into the light of the fresh air. And that's exactly what this is inviting you into. Up out of the darkness into the cave and up into the fresh air. And here we have it. This is spring energy. You know, this week we enter the equinox. We enter your season, Aries. It is the time of things bursting up out of containment, out of dormancy, and beginning to bloom. And Aries, this is your opportunity. Trust the roots that you have grown, 10 of Pentacles, so that now you can rise up out of the darkness and into the light, out of stagnation, whatever that means for you. Okay. I'm also noticing something. These beans or these seeds, they look like kidneys to me. They look like kidneys. And even this looks like the kidney bladder system in the body, the ureter. Kidney bladder system rules fear. Deep fear at the root, at the base of who we are. Kidneys talk about, in Chinese medicine, they talk about security, a sense of safety, of fundamental basic safety that gives us that security that we need to move forward with less fear. Even if we can't move without fear, that may be a completely unreasonable ask at this time, but to move forward with less fear. We tap into those roots of security that we have. There's something also interesting about like stagnated liquid in the body creates like kidney backup, you know, it like creates problems in the kidney and bladder, which are systems that help filter our flow. They help us, the liquid, the emotional energy in the body, help it flow through and out. And that's that idea of the grief, right? Letting the grief flow through and maybe most importantly, completely out. Letting it flow through, move through you rather than holding it all here in stagnation. Let it flow. These could even sort of look like lungs too, right? Rather than keeping it all in here, letting that flow through, just like the kidney system that helps process these liquids through and out of our body, releasing any excess that we don't need to hang on to in order for us to be able to move. Okay, Aries, I hope you found that helpful. Thank you so much for joining me for this reading. I wish you all of the best during this time. And again, if you'd like a personal reading from me, unseenhandshealing.com. That's where you can get in touch if you need a little extra guidance at this time. All right, Aries, take care. Talk to you soon. Taurus, hello. Thank you so much for joining me as we look at the energetic guide that is here for you during this time as we are all dealing with COVID-19. So I'm going to look at the Mary L. Tarot here, give her a couple shuffles, and ask who is the guide from the tarot that is here to guide you through this time. Who is the guide for Taurus at this time? Beautiful. Your energy here, this earth energy, the King of Discs. Gorgeous, grounded energy, absolutely relishing in all of that grounded earth energy. What's interesting too about this King of Earth is it's like not afraid to partake of earthly delights, earthly pleasures. There's something very sensual in the way that this king is about to bite into that apple, about to enjoy that apple. Notice also how he's like resting back, letting it all kind of hang out. Okay, so there's a real sense of like finding that firm rooted groundedness in that Taurus energy of sensual enjoyment. It's like, even though there's so much angst and fear and worry present during this time, I think this card is giving you permission to enjoy yourself. And perhaps like following that sense of pleasure is your way to navigate through this energy. I like it. I like it a lot, Taurus. Okay, now we're going to go into the Divine Doorways deck here. Give it a couple shuffles. And I'm going to ask, what is the opportunity available to you at this time, Taurus? What are you being invited into here? What is Taurus being? What door is opening for Taurus at this time? Okay. Beautiful card. We got Sunset. Time here turns to release and unfurl old cords of pain, fade as the sunlight burns. One more time. Time here turns to release and unfurl. Old cords of pain fade as the sun's light burns. So this energy of a sunset, it's like the sun is setting, I think is what this is saying. The sun is setting on old cords of pain. Old times are fading out as the sunlight burns away. Like I'm getting this image of a candle or like a fire completely burning out, and you've just got those hot coals, and as the fire slowly burns out, just like the sunset, time here turns. It's like time is turning to help you release and unfurl and let the sun set on an old time, maybe an old time of pain. There could be this opportunity here for you, Taurus, to release whatever old pain is really, I think, trying to leave your life at this time. Notice how this doorway feels kind of far away too. It's almost like getting this perspective and like watching this time of your life, sort of watching the sun set on this time. Interesting. Let's pull a protection card from the Portable Fortitude deck here. Protection for Taurus at this time. This beautiful deck by Karina Dross. Protection for Taurus at this time. What is the fortitude for Taurus at this time? Okay, what do we got? Protection from bicycle mishap. Cheeky card, huh? Look at all these wheels. Really interesting. Lots of wheels, lots of wheels. It's like, as you know, wheels to me, especially in the tarot, are symbols of change, things turning, things shifting. It's like in the middle of all of this shifting and turning and changing, there is protection here for you amidst the turning of the wheels. What's also really interesting too is we've got the Sith here, which speaks of death energy. Death energy in the tarot talks about times of endings that bring great change. And that's what this sunset card is speaking to for you, Taurus, is this idea of an ending, something really leaving your life at this time. A time of the sun setting on an old way of being and moving into something new. What's also funny to me is bicycles are like ways of getting around, you know, like you take a bike for transportation from here to there. Okay, and at this time we are being asked to stay in our homes, and we are being invited into containment where we are not traveling. And so this could be a message of like reinforcing, hey, maybe you don't need to go from point A to point B. Maybe looking at the impulse that you have to get up and go and saying, what if your guide during this time is actually much more stationary? To allow yourself to sort of melt into the pleasure of the pleasures that containment can bring. The pleasures that being still and rooted in a home space can offer. As you sort of, it's almost like you're, here's an interesting image. It's almost like the King of Discs here. You're like sitting back and enjoying good food, enjoying like earthly pleasures, even as you watch the sun set on this larger phase of your life. Really beautiful message, Taurus. Wow. All right, I hope you found that helpful, my friend. Thank you for being here. Again, if you are interested in deeper personal guidance at this time, I do have personal readings available this week at a 10% discount. So please do check out unseenhandshealing.com and we can connect that way. All right, Taurus, take care. Gemini, hello. Thank you so much for joining me here. I'm going to start out by asking the Mary L. Tarot, who is your guide through this unsettling moment as we all deal with COVID-19? Who is the guide for Gemini during this time? Who is the guide for Gemini during this time? Okay, beautiful. Got the Three of Swords. The Three of Swords talks about mental and emotional pain, feeling pain in the heart in particular, almost like these swords are sort of like lodged. It's interesting because the bird is trying to fly, right? The bird is trying to fly up, but there's this dark cloud here near the head, and the bird is having perhaps a hard time flying while also trying to hold on to all of these swords. It's like if the bird were to let go of that pain, let go of the mental worries, hurts, they would be able to fly much freer, much more freely. Okay, so there's something in that, Gemini, perhaps about releasing pain from the heart at this time. Even as the clouds are a bit dark and ominous, there is an invitation into freedom, an invitation into lightness of being, I think, and an invitation into release, specifically emotional release. So let's see what else is here for you. We're going to look at the Divine Doors deck here, Divine Doorways, and ask what is the opportunity that's here for you at this time, Gemini? What are you being invited into? What door is opening, even if it feels like all the doors are closing? What door is opening here for Gemini? Okay. Interesting. Okay, so we see a really open doorway here. One, it's dividing, it seems like, the earth from the sky. Okay, and on the back it says, a distant kiss in a prayer flag. I wish of all wishes that you were here through sunlight and rain. I need you near. I mean, this is speaking to me of the social isolation that we're all experiencing at this time. And there's this sort of distant kiss, distant prayer of, I wish you were here. And so I think this card is inviting you into crossing that distance, bridging that gap with those who you long for, those who you long to connect with, finding ways to connect over space and time, over this distance that we are all being asked to maintain for public health reasons. There are ways that perhaps you can connect and share the vulnerability of your heart. I mean, maybe you're feeling, really, really feeling the pain and maybe loneliness of being separated from people during this time. And so I think you're being asked to release some of that by honestly, vulnerably reaching out. Really, it's asking, how can you bridge this gap? I think that's the doorway that's open to you. Okay, now I'm going to get a card of Portable Fortitude here. This beautiful deck by Karina Dross. A card of protection for Gemini. What is the card of protection for Gemini at this time? Okay. It says protection from being led astray. And we see this boat, and we see the Little Dipper here. It speaks to me of navigating by the stars, and it says protection from being led astray. Really interesting here, Taurus. I think it's like as you navigate the way forward, you know, there's so much information. Gemini. There's so much information coming at us, and it's hard to know what's real, and it's hard to know what to believe or what to invest in here and which way to go. How to navigate this forward. I think this is calling you into your own inner guidance, perhaps higher guidance here with the stars, more ancient ways of guiding ourselves forward. While, you know, it's speaking very specifically of astrology to me. Using astrology as a tool to help you gain perspective on what's going on, but also there's a caution here, right, about being led astray. There's something here about like balancing the information that you're getting. Yes, absolutely listen to what astrologers have to say, and also listen to what scientists have to say. Listen to the CDC, listen to many sources of information, and then decide inside of yourself what feels right in terms of navigating your way forward through this. Okay, I think that's where that is leading you. Okay, Gemini, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks for joining me here. If you would like a personal reading, you know how to get in touch with me, unseenhandshealing.com. I am offering 10% discount this week, so if you'd like to get that, I recommend booking with me as soon as possible. All right, Gemini, take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Cancer, hello. Thank you so much for watching and for tuning in during this difficult time. So I'm going to start with the Mary L. Tarot here, and we're going to ask specifically, who is your guide in the tarot through this time of dealing with coronavirus? Who is Cancer's guide through this public health crisis? Okay. Yeah. Quite apt. We have the Strength card. This really beautiful card of the fierce lion. This is Leo energy, and we have the strength of the lion emerging from between the legs of this being who is praying on prayer beads. And so it's interesting. I'm seeing both things, two different things here. You know, to me, Leo energy, it is very much about boldness and not being afraid to take action. There's something here about the bold action that this lion is facing and willing to take. There's something very resolve about that energy, and also this energy of prayer and faith and like spiritual connection at this time. I'm seeing this as both energies working in tandem to give you the strength to navigate this. You know, we do need that spiritual connection and that heart connection. And I think Leo, that's sort of like the heart is the energy center in the body that connects. It's the bridge between the upper spiritual energies and the lower, more human, earthly energies that are about tangible results or tangible, palpable actions we can take at this time. For example, staying at home, washing hands, social distancing, all of these things that the CDC is recommending that we do in order to help prevent the spread of this virus. Those are the actionable things that we can do. And also, we can connect spiritually and energetically. It's like that both things are here, Cancer. There's also something about the fact that the lion, this bold, fierce energy, is emerging like a king, you know, the king of the jungle, emerging like royalty from the base, from the root of you. There is something, it's almost like in the face of this like global disaster. There's a strength rising, rearing from your root that grounds you in, that gives you that centered security and resolve to be bold and to find the faith and the heart and the courage, the strength to move through this. It's gorgeous. It's really beautiful, Cancer. Okay, so that's your guide. Let's look at the doorway. We're looking at the Divine Doorways deck here, and give it a couple shuffles and ask, what is the opportunity specifically for you, Cancer, at this time with this global health crisis? You know, this coronavirus is closing a lot of doors, and I'm wondering what doors are opening, as many others are wondering what doors are opening during this time. So give it a couple shuffles here. What is the door that's opening for Cancer at this time? Okay. Beautiful. It says intuition on the back. Simple, complex, words of pain or words that heal. You come to know truth by the way that it feels. Wow, I'm gonna read that again. Simple, complex, words of pain or words that heal. You come to know truth by the way that it feels. That's what intuition is. This is really interesting because you can really, even the colors are the same. You can connect these two cards because essentially we've got these hands in prayer, and prayer hands are connected with one another. Using your own two hands to connect to that intuition within you that helps guide you by the way that it feels into the boldness, the action, the courage that is right for you to take at this time. The resolve, I just keep getting resolve, absolute like warrior status with this. And it's all based on how you feel, your intuition. And Cancer, you're a water sign. Your connection to your intuition and your feelings, your heart, is the source of your courage. It's really lovely. Now we're looking to the Portable Fortitude deck by Karina Dross to get the card of protection for Cancer at this time. What is the card of protection for Cancer at this time? Protection from domestic strife. I really love this card. The imagery is really spot on. And it could not be more appropriate for this time of social distancing and self-isolating at home. You know, being in close quarters with or without maybe the people that we love can cause a lot of stress, a lot of power struggles, and that's what we're seeing here. These two bears going at it. Come on. Here we go. The two beings of these animals of equal animal power struggling for dominance and spilling all of the milk in the process, because it looks like the house is too small. You know, the house is too small to contain such big energies. So there's something here about, you know, as you find yourself confined. It's interesting that we've got these like beast energies coming through your reading today, Cancer. The beast of the lion, the beast of the bear. It's like there's this beast roaring up in you, and there's a need to kind of balance it with an intuitive feeling, healing connection that helps determine the resolve of your action to be one of strength and compassion, while still keeping your boldness and the ferocity, but not in a way that creates strife, but in a way that helps to heal and adequately problem solve. That's what I'm seeing here. Beautiful. Really lovely, Cancer. Okay. Thank you for tuning in here and for joining me with this collective reading on the coronavirus. And for those of you who are seeking extra personal guidance at this time, I am offering personal readings at a 10% discount, not only to my patrons, but to everyone during this time of crisis. So please do reach out. Go to my website, unseenhandshealing.com. That's where you can get all the info and contact info to get in touch with me for a personal reading. All right, Cancer, take care. Leo, hello, Amanda here. Thanks so much for joining me for this reading at the time of this global health crisis that we are all facing. So I'm going to start by pulling a card from the Mary L. Tarot that is going to be your guide through this time. Who is Leo's guide during this time dealing with the coronavirus? Who is, one card please. Who is Leo's guide during this time dealing with the coronavirus? Okay. Got the Queen of Cups. What a guide. Powerful, intuitive. You know what's funny about this? Cancer got the Leo card, and you now have a Cancer card. Interesting, Leo. Some of you, that may be significant if you resonate with Cancer energy or have that elsewhere in your chart. So your guide through this season is the Queen of Cups, who invites you into your feelings, invites you into your emotional space in order to help your intuition blossom at this time. It's like that's what this crab, the pearls that the crab is holding, it's like the pearls of deep intuitive wisdom that are found through that water energy that the cups contains, which is the emotional energy. The emotions seem to be your inner guide through this, navigating these waters. What's interesting too is the Queen of Cups really calls us into an internal emotional experience. And this time of isolation and distancing from others is an invitation, an opportunity to really drop into connection with ourselves. And I think that's what this Queen of Cups is calling you towards, but more specifically through experiencing your very human emotions and the shifts, the emotional shifts that come with these trying times are your intuitive guides. Because again, I'm just like drawn to this third eye center absolutely bursting for this Queen of Cups, but it all comes from the heart. Beautiful. Okay, let's get you a Divine Doorways card, okay? Because, you know, during this time, it may feel like a lot of our doors are closing, you know, borders are closing, boundaries are being put up more than ever, our doors are closing to friends and family, and we are feeling isolated. And so during this time, I'm wondering what doors are opening. So let's ask, what doors are opening for Leo at this time? Okay. Wow. Big old door, huh? It says in the back, 1111. Numbers in doubles, synchronicity in 2. Don't hold back your love now. Life is meant for you. Interesting. We've got this synchronicity with the 1111. The 1111 is often talked about as this like gateway, this doorway into something else, a synchronicity, seeing the numbers 1111 being a signal to you that you're on track in some way, or that your intuition is speaking to you. Numbers in doubles, synchronicity in 2. The number 2 could be very significant for some folks. Don't hold back your love now. 2 is associated with love and connection. Life is meant for you. So it's like, don't hold back your love and your heart, that Leo heart energy that wants to connect. It's like connecting with self through the emotions, but also the Queen of Cups is one who holds that unconditional love for others and who can connect through the heart space. I think there's just so much emotional heart energy here for you, Cancer, in terms of connecting with others, even if we can't be in physical proximity to connect. I think I called you Cancer. I meant Leo because this Cancer energy is so strong. All right, we're going to get you a Portable Fortitude. This beautiful deck by Karina Dross. The Portable Fortitude. What is the Portable Fortitude for Leo at this time? A card of protection for Leo during this time. Oop, this one just popped right out. What have we got? Potent. Whoa. Protection from what remains undone. You know, Leo, at this time of all of us being in this holding pattern, there can be this real angst or worry around what we didn't get to accomplish or what we didn't get to finish, and what we are now, some of us, cut off from finishing because we can't go into the office, or we can't go into the spaces where our projects are being held. And so there's something here about protection from the anxiety around our projects that we are unable to finish, or the things that we've started that we are unable to complete, that feel like they're undone or hanging in the air because of this holding pattern. It's like, don't worry so much about the productivity at this time, Leo. And it seems to me, drop more into the emotions, drop more into having faith, trust, connection, love energy, heart energy, because that emotional energy is going to help your intuition blossom and help you to really tune in to what else is here for you at this time. Beautiful. Yeah, I'm also getting that, like, if you've got any like projects around the house that now you actually do have time to work in, because we are seeing that someone in their backyard just kind of like putzing around and working. It's like, don't feel like you have to get everything done at once just because now you're not at work. Like high expectations, intense pressure on yourself. That's what I'm feeling from this card. Okay, interesting. Beautiful. Thanks, Leo. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining me here. I hope this reading was helpful for you. If you are seeking a little extra guidance at this time and you are interested in a personal reading, please do get in touch with me. I'm offering 10% off not only to patrons, but to everyone right now in this time of major fear for a lot of folks. So please do get in touch with me. You can visit my website, unseenhandshealing.com, to look deeper into a personal reading. All right, Leo, take care. Virgo, hello. Thanks so much for joining me here as we look deeper into the guidance that's here for you specifically during this time of this global health crisis. We are using the Mary L Tarot here to go into your guide, to ask who is your guide from the tarot through this time. And then we will look at the Divine Doorways deck and the protection, the Portable Fortitude deck, to see what protection is here for you at this time and what doors might be opening at this time. Okay, so let's first ask the Mary L, who is Virgo's guide through this time of global health crisis? Who is Virgo's guide? One card, please. Who is Virgo's guide through dealing with the coronavirus? Okay. Beautiful. The Page of Cups. What vulnerability is in this card? We're seeing someone who looks young to me. It's interesting, all of this like beautiful fish energy, it's very flowing, it's incredibly creative, it's incredibly emotional. Even like the way this person's, the back of their neck is exposed. There's something coming through for me about how, like, in Chinese medicine, often I come from a background of shiatsu bodywork, which is why I'm often bringing that into my work now. It's just a perspective that I have in my brain, so it comes out. But in Chinese medicine, often the reason that you need to keep your neck covered when going outside in the cold is because the back of the neck in particular, like the nape of the neck as being shown here, is a place of vulnerability in the body. It's a place where other influences and energies can get in and create illness. So it's really, really interesting that we're showing this, like, that I'm picking up on that in this Page of Cups card that is absolutely opening that most vulnerable part of the body to be seen. And now listen, I just want to be super, super clear. I am not saying that, and I think you know this, Virgo, I am not saying that you need to make yourself vulnerable physically. If anything, I am taking this virus very seriously, and I am on the other end of the spectrum here, recommending that you do all of the things that the CDC is telling you to do. Stay inside, self-isolate, wash your hands, the whole 9 yards. Okay, so I'm not talking about that. I think this is more about like emotional and creative and intuitive listening, because we're looking at this ear really prominent, of really deep listening and a willingness to allow your vulnerable parts to open in order to receive the messages that are coming through, allowing yourself to feel the emotional vulnerability that this moment in time is bringing. I'm seeing the sails here on this ship as like movement and change and shifting tides. You know, like this boat needs the wind in order for it to move. And to me, the sails look inflated. They look like the wind is blowing and that all of this change is happening, and there is a lot of shifting in your world. And so it's like in the face of that, there's this like beautiful stillness that the Page of Cups is bringing, and it's almost like they're offering up this part of themselves, offering up this vulnerability as a gift for self and others, seeing your emotional vulnerability as a gift for yourself, a gift to yourself and a gift to others at this time, because that's the point at which we can connect. That's why it's a gift. This is how our emotional vulnerability is, how we drop into connection with ourselves and hear our own our own intuition in the face of all of this external shifting and changing and winds blowing and wildness happening. There's a lot of creative expression available here too. Just, I'm seeing that through the like painted koi fish. It's also so tender. God, Virgo, it's so tender the way that this water energy is just artistically and beautifully draped and wrapped around the body of this human. Open, vulnerable, listening, allowing the emotions to flow and allowing them to flow creatively, to connect with yourself. Perhaps connecting with your own feelings through this will offer you the chance to dip into a creative expression of that will then help you connect with others. Okay, that's a thing that could be coming through. Let's look at the divine doorways here. You know, there's a lot of doors closing at this time of coronavirus. It's like we are literally closing our doors. Businesses are closing their doors temporarily. We are closing the doors to our homes. I want to know what doors are opening at this time. Me and many others, but let's ask. What is the door that is opening for Virgo at this time? Okay. Oh my. Okay. Beautiful. Oh, I love it. The door is just ajar. It has been left ajar, cracked open just a bit. It's interesting because it looks like it could potentially have a really heavy lock on it. Oh, there's all these chains. I'm going to show you. There's like all these locks, all these chains, and yet it's been left just a little bit open. Look at that closely. See all the chains? All these chains, all these chains, all these locks. And yet the door is open. And look at this on the top. There's a lotus flower right there. And on the floor. And on the back it says, the sacred lotus. Compassion in action. The chosen tool. I see now the lotus in your spirit's jewel. I mean, this goes right along with this energy. The sacred lotus. Compassion in action. This is compassion. This is vulnerability. This is humility. And the lotus is this beautiful symbol of emotional growth and unfolding through trying times, because the lotus grows up through the mud to break through into the light. And so through that, the growth that is available to you in these trying times, I think, is one of an emotional, intuitive unfolding. And it seems to be based in compassion. Compassion for yourself first, Virgo, and the emotions that you may be experiencing, and then extending that compassion to others. I want to say this because I'm really struggling with this right now as a Virgo. I'll just pop in here with my own 2 cents. It's really hard when you have a strong sense, personal sense of conviction about something. It can be very hard to have compassion for others and others' reactions to something so big and something so scary. And so I think it's really apt that we have this card of compassion, because compassion is leaving the door open just a little bit for connection, even if it's just emotionally or spiritually. Just emotionally or spiritually, as if those are small things. I see now the lotus in your spirit's jewel. It's almost like choosing compassion, because it says the chosen tool. Compassion is the chosen tool. Compassion is absolutely something we have to choose. It is not something that necessarily is the first impulse. Choosing compassion helps you to see the other person's emotional unfolding and the other person's emotional growth, that they are going through their own journey of unfolding. Yeah, okay. There's something really interesting there in that door opening. And now let's get you a Portable Fortitude card. This deck from Karina Dross, one of my favorites. Portable Fortitude for Virgo at this time. What is the card of protection for Virgo during this time? Gorgeous. This beautiful heron, or maybe a crane. It says protection from delusions. Look at the ship energy again, more water. What is up, Virgo? These ships, you know, ships indicate movement over water, a journey. Oh, it says protection from comfortable delusions. I always miss that. I often miss that in this card. Protection from comfortable. There we go. Delusions. Oof, that adds another layer, doesn't it? This virus is taking us out of our comfort zones in massive ways. And there's this card about protecting us from comfortable delusions, from sitting back on our laurels and resting in comfort of the things that we are used to, or the things that we're used to doing, or telling ourselves, oh, it won't affect me, or it'll be fine if I just do this thing. And it's like, there's a need to protect from that at this time. And I think this is just speaking of taking that virus seriously, which, you know, most Virgos I know would be taking this pretty seriously. I think it lends itself in earth energy in general to look at this and not rest into the delusions of comfort. And yet here we have you looking at things squarely in the eye, Virgo, and not escaping into comfortable fantasy around this, while also leaning on compassion and choosing compassion for yourself and others over and over in your expression and as a way to connect with yourself and others. Okay, so that's what's coming through there. Big message. Really beautiful message. So much water energy. This is all about emotions and intuition for you. It really is. And also you could even see these like hibiscus maybe as more lotus energy, more unfolding. Beautiful echoes in this reading. Lovely, Virgo. Okay. Thanks so much for watching. If you are someone who is seeking deeper guidance at this time and you would like a personal reading, you can head over to my website, unseenhandshealing.com. I am offering a 10% discount to not only patrons of my work on Patreon, but to absolutely everyone during this time of major crisis. So please do get in touch if you would like to book a personal reading. All right, Virgo, take care. Libra, hello. Thank you so much for joining me here as we are looking deeper into the energies that are specifically here for you during this pandemic. So Libra, we're going to first ask the Mary L Tarot, who is your guide through this time? All right. Who is the guide from the tarot that is here for Libra during this time of global health crisis? Who is the guide that's here for Libran energies at this time? Guide for Libra during this time. Wow. Powerful. The energy of death, transformation. This card to me represents the cycles of life and the recognition of this life, death, rebirth cycle that we are always in, that we find in nature constantly as the seasons change and things die and go dormant and go underground, and then suddenly months later spring back to life in a different form and continue that cycle over and over. I think that this death card is here inviting us into recognizing that this too is part somehow of nature's way of cycling and transforming us through this process. So the death energy specifically, it's not necessarily literally saying death. It's talking about the death process, which is one of transforming from one form into another. And so I think the question here that this guide is offering you, Libra, is to look into how this process is transforming you at this time. What form are you saying goodbye to, and what form are you now moving into? And collectively there's this feeling with this coronavirus that life before COVID-19 and life after COVID-19 could be completely different. And I know for many people in the world and many countries in the world already, they are experiencing that magnitude. At the time of this recording in the United States, we are looking towards that possibility. And so I think that this card is speaking of this more collective question of how this is going to transform our society, but also, and humanity globally, but also how this is going to transform you, Libra, individually. Beautiful. Okay, that's your guide. I also want to go to the Divine Doors deck here and ask, because especially as we are being called into self-isolation and called into social distancing, it can feel to us like a lot of doors are closing, like our doors are closing to the outside world right now as we are all working collectively, hopefully, to prevent or slow the spread of this illness. And so I'm wondering, as many others are, what doors are opening at this time? So I'm going to ask this deck for you, Libra, what doors are opening for Libran energy at this time? Okay, that was quick. Interesting. Okay, we have this door here, a very deep, heavy door with lots of lines etched and carved deep into the woodwork and into the stonework. Really lovely. It's almost like I'm noticing how they kind of look like Tetris if you look really closely, and it's like all of the little blocks fitting together. And the back says palmistry. Okay, palmistry, and it says Fortune and Tarot, Collective Destiny. The palm lines from birth tell your sacred palmistry. And the little asterisk here says listen to the notes of intuition. I really like that. Listen to the notes of intuition is almost as if intuition speaks to you through sound and song. Listen to the notes of intuition, the highs and the lows, the different tones that intuition speaks to you through your own body, through your own psyche, through your own emotions and feelings. Really, really beautiful. But okay, so I love that we're looking at this idea of collective destiny in this little poem. Fortune and Tarot, I mean, there's this sort of process of using tools like tarot and astrology, even palmistry, to connect the dots in terms of like how we got here collectively and where this could potentially take us. I'm not one that emphasizes fortune telling or predicting the future, because I think that the possible outcomes of the future are constantly in flux. So I'm not sold on the idea that we can predict the future. But I am very much engaged in the process of connecting the dots using these tools and using that sort of like detective work to bring me into deeper connection with the present moment. So I think that's what this is potentially inviting you into, especially as I saw all of the blocks on this door as kind of like Tetris pieces. It's like, how are all of the pieces fitting together during this time? And I'm just imagining you like turning the block over and over and over in different directions to see if it will fit into the slot. So it's as you're getting this larger perspective on the cycles and seasons, there's also this larger perspective of like how we got here and what connecting the dots as to the cycles that have brought us here in this moment, perhaps using tools like tarot, palmistry, astrology. Okay, that's the door that's open for you at this time. Very nice. All right, Libra. Final card of protection here from the Portable Fortitude deck by Karina Dross, an incredible astrologer and artist who I highly recommend supporting at this time. One of my favorites, Karina Dross. Look them up. Okay. All right. What is the card of protection and fortitude for Libra at this time? 2. You got 2, Libra. Wow. Okay. 2 very different energies. Protection from indoctrination and protection from those who love you. But isn't it interesting how we've got the wolf in both? There's something here for me, Libra, about like you grounding into your own energy. Because there's something about like the influence that a larger entity can have over you in terms of believing in the, indoctrination is essentially just like believing what you're told in a sense. At least that's how it's coming through to me. Like you're just believing what's being dangled in front of you, what's being fed to you, or at least that's the opportunity for you to believe the carrot that's being dangled is strong. And so there's like a need to drop into your own wisdom in terms of protection from indoctrination. And the same message is sort of coming through here for protection from those who love you. It's like the larger collective doctrine can be something to protect against, as well as the opinions, thoughts, and well-intentioned, perhaps, nudgings of those around you can be, and like influences of those around you can be something to protect against as well. And so because both of those are here, it sort of feels like it's really important for you, Libra, at this time to drop into your own energy. Like you are this wolf surrounded by the influence of others, surrounded by the influence of the outside world and the larger collective that's going on. And it's like the question, I think, in all of this, as you work to connect the dots and as you work to see the larger perspective, which you are so good at, Libra, you are so good at taking everybody's opinion into account. You are so good at seeing the larger picture. And so I think the question for you, Libra, in all of this is, as you are connecting these larger dots and putting the puzzle pieces in place, how is this hitting you? What does your own intuition say? I'm going to bring you back to this little asterisk in the bottom. Listen to the notes of intuition. Because here's the thing about these tools like tarot, astrology, palmistry, they all have their own kind of formula and structure and pattern to follow to help with interpretation. But at the end of the day, the thing that is the art of interpretation is actually really honing in on what your own intuitive knowings and your own gut is saying. I think that's the larger message of this reading for you during this time, Libra. What is your feeling on all of this deep in your spirit. And I just want to clarify that I'm not saying don't listen to the CDC, don't listen to science. I am one that is absolutely a huge supporter of listen to the CDC, listen to science, and in fact, like, draw your own conclusions and take the necessary precautions. Like, do your research. Here's how you put the puzzle pieces together. Do your research, figure out how viruses work. Put the pieces together. If this thing can live in the air for 3 hours and it can live on cardboard for 24 hours, like, look at the science that's coming out and put the pieces together in terms of how that affects your own relationship to this and how that influences your actions. It's like, I think this is just saying, listening to the opinions of others and listening, is good. Take all of that into account and then do your own homework and drop into your own intuition about things, while also recognizing the larger cycles at play that are so much bigger than all of us. One last thing, Libra. A lot is going to leave our lives during this time. Like I was saying before, life as we know it before this virus and life as we know it after it's very likely that they will be very different experiences. And so much people, activities, our normal modes of operations may change and transform and shift dramatically during this time. And the best thing we can do in the face of death is to recognize how small we are. The best thing we can do in the face of something so much larger and such a deeply human experience as mortality, in the face of our own mortality, is to recognize that we are powerless to that. And there's sort of a freedom in that, isn't there? There's a bit of a freedom in recognizing that these cycles of life and these forces of nature are as much a part of us as they are so much larger than us. Okay. All right, wow. Beautiful, Libra. All right, thank you for joining me for this reading. If you are someone who is seeking extra guidance at this time where there is much fear and unsettled energy, please get in touch with me for a personal reading. I am offering 10% off to all personal readings, not just Patreon patrons at this time. Anybody that wants a personal reading from me, you get 10% off. You can learn more at my website, unseenhandshealing.com. And if that sounds right for you, get in touch with me and we'll connect over a personal reading. All right, Libra, take care. Scorpio, hello. Thank you so much for joining me for this collective reading, diving deeper into the guidance that is specifically here for Scorpio energy during this pandemic. So we're going to start with the Mary L Tarot, and we're going to ask specifically who is the guide from the tarot that is here for you during this time. All right, so who is the guide that is here for Scorpio energy during this global health crisis? Who is the guide for Scorpio? That was fast. Wow. Deeply powerful energy, Scorpio. My goodness, would I expect anything less? The Queen of Wands. So the Queen of Wands is, Queen energy is all about that internal space. And this is specifically talking about and directing you towards your internal fire. Your internal, intuitive, passionate knowing that I'm just seeing this as like helping you to expand from the inside out into the complete fullness of your power. This seems to be an opportunity for you to come fully into who you are, fully into your power, to embrace that power. Look at the way she holds this powerful little baby cat. She's holding that fire and nurturing that fire because she knows that I'm getting this thing of like knowing your power allows you to nurture the nascent power in others and to then like pass that on. It's like you nurturing the nascent power within yourself helps you come into the fullness of your power, and then like passing and then like taking that fullness and offering it to others and passing the power. That's what I'm getting with this card. Really interesting. You have influence is what I'm saying, Scorpio. You have a lot of influence at this time. You have a lot of influence over others simply through the power that exudes from you. And I think the Queen of Wands is directing you to know that and own it. Ooh, powerful, fierce energy here. I'm also getting this like you are the rock for others at this time. Perhaps those younger than you, those more vulnerable than you, it's like you have the capacity to hold them in your power and in your strength, in your like robust, steely, flaming strength. There's also this like stone at her third eye that I'm seeing as obsidian, which is protection. It's like you are protected at this time, Scorpio. You feel protected. You can feel your own like psychic, energetic, physical protection. Like that's what I'm feeling. Like you are feeling extremely strong. That's why I keep saying like robust and full. Like you're feeling strong physically and like protected. And if you're not, like this is inviting you into that, the strength that you possess. And others can take shelter in that at this time, should you choose to allow them energetically maybe to do so. It's really powerful. Okay, so next we're going to look at the Divine Doors deck here. And the reason I'm doing this, Scorpio, is because, you know, COVID-19 is forcing us to close our doors in a lot of ways. Borders are closing in different countries, including the US, Canada, Mexico. You know, all of our individual doors are closing to our friends and neighbors as we are asked to socially isolate at this time. So like many others, I want to know what doors are opening. So I'm going to ask what doors are opening for Scorpio at this time. It's fast, huh? Wow. Okay, beautiful. You've got this like fairy forest, like hermit cave inside the, like through the brush and bramble of the trees in the hillside. That's kind of how I'm seeing this. And inside this doorway, this opening to your hermit cave under the roots of this tree, which is interesting because I felt this like deeply rooted energy with the Queen of Wands, super strong, super powerful, absolutely rooted. It's almost like I'm seeing these roots on the bottom, in the bottom of the tree, like growing out of her base. And like, there's the shelter. There's the shelter underneath her roots at the base, at the foundation of you, at the root of you. And here's the shelter you can take, you can find at your root right now. And it says hummingbird song. Nectar of sweetness, in joy it brings, the hummingbird's healing as medicine it sings. So the the place where you are the strongest at your root, Scorpio, is when you are able to find joy, lightness of being, like the hummingbird. This card is inviting you into opening the doorway to a sense of joy and song, proclamation of your joy, singing out your joy for all to see, all to hear. And there's something specifically about the hummingbird being this like small, light being. It's like, allow your heart to be a flutter, allow your joy to shine through and to ring out for others to hear at this time. Because again, like, your joy is how you root and find shelter and safety, because the root energy is all about, like, our foundation is all about where we feel safe and where we feel secure, and where you feel safe, or what you are invited, the safety and security you are invited into right now. It's like you can access that through joy, lightness of being, the hummingbird song. Powerful, powerful opening there. Okay. And finally, a card of protection for you, Scorpio, during this time from the Portable Fortitude deck by Karina Dross. Highly, highly recommend supporting Karina's work. Really wonderful astrologer, incredible artist. Look them up, Karina Dross. Okay. What is the protection and fortitude for Scorpio at this time? Okay. Hold on, gotta chase a card. All right. Interesting. Scorpio, protection from doppelgangers. Wow, wow, wow. It's interesting. I'm seeing this as like, I think this card, protection from doppelgangers, that would indicate people trying to be like you, or people like taking your identity in some way. There's like a threat present in this card, right? Being threatened by others, emulating you in some way. And here's the thing. This part of you is not threatened by others emulating them. Because the reality is, of this Queen of Wands, no one can emulate her. There is no doppelganger for this kind of power, and this kind of fire, and this kind of security, for this kind of root system. Sing your hummingbird song, Scorpio. No one else can sing it. It's yours. I'm gonna leave that right there. Okay, Scorpio, thank you so much for joining me here. If this was helpful to you and you are seeking deeper guidance at this time and you would like a personal reading with me, please know that I'm offering 10% off all personal readings right now to absolutely everyone during this time, not just Patreon patrons. So if that sounds like something that you would like to do, head over to unseenhandshealing.com, read all about my personal reading, distance reading offerings, and we can get in touch. All right. Thanks for listening, Scorpio, and take care. Sagittarius, hello. Thank you so much for joining me here as we look deeper into the guidance that is here for your energy specifically during this pandemic. So we're going to start with the Mary L Tarot, and we're going to ask, who is your guide from the tarot during this time? So who is the guide that is here for Sagittarius energy during this global health crisis? Who is the guide that's here for Sag at this time? Who is Sag's guide through this pandemic? Okay. Yes, the Chariot. This is beautiful. So this is the energy that came out in one of the energies that came out in the collective reading for this COVID-19. And, you know, if you remember from that, I really felt the energy coming through being this heart-centered way of gathering resources as a community, and specifically the way that wolves look out for one another by keeping the most vulnerable among them in the middle of the pack as they travel and as they move, so that the strongest are on either end, leading the way and supporting the rear. You know, it's like, Sag, there's something about your ability, your specific skill set or constitution that is needed at this time to help gather those kinds of communal resources and connection and moving forward from a heart-centered place. I think it's really interesting because I often associate Sagittarius with movement. Sagittarius feels like they want to move, right? They want to travel, they want to explore, they want to go to the next place, physically, metaphorically. And yet here we are in this time where we are being asked to stay in place. We are being asked to isolate, not to travel, not to move as much. And so here we have a card of movement. It's absolutely appropriate for your energy, Sag, wanting to move. And so I think the Chariot is inviting you into other forms of movement. Like, I know you want to move, right? I know you want to move, but you can't. For the safety of yourself and others, you just can't right now. And so, what movement is available to you at this time? How can you connect with others? What about other types of movement that are not physical and externally oriented? What about movements inside of you from the heart? Interesting. Really, really interesting here. Just seeing if there's any other messages here. Yeah, there's something about how like the wolves are all looking in different directions. These two are looking squarely forward. This one looks here. This one's looking there. There's like everyone's kind of looking in all the different directions. And then what's coming to me, it's like you've got your sights in all the different outlooks on this, viewpoints on this. And yet like the thing that is radiating from this card for me is the blooming at the heart. It's like, it's almost like it's pulsing. Like that's kind of how I'm feeling that energy, and that it in the image, that like everybody's looking every which way, but the one constant is the movement pulsing at the heart. Heart-centered movement is the way forward, is the movement that is available to us at this time. Okay, so I'm going to go to the Divine Doors deck now and look at the doors that are opening to you at this time, Sag, because, you know, we are in a time where doors are closing to us. We are being asked to close our own doors. The borders are shutting down, you know, a lot. It feels like a lot of doors are closing. And so I am interested in, as well as many others, are interested in what are the doors that are opening at this time. So what doors are opening for Sagittarius? What movement is available to Sagittarius at this time? Oh, you can't write it. It's so good. Look at this. Okay. Beautiful doorway. I love how open it is and how we're looking straight through this doorway and we're looking at a Buddha figure who is rooted in compassion. And in the back, on the back here, it says, offerings. Abundance lies in the heart. I'm gonna keep both cards up. Abundance lies in the heart that allows, share more than expected, and see love come around. One more time. Abundance lies in the heart that allows, share more than expected, and see love come around. This is it. This is the heart-centered movement in community, the generosity that can be found. It's like, Sag, you do have access to movement right now. The movement that we need is heart-centered, community-oriented, community-supportive movement from a place of abundance. From a place of, you know what? I have extra resources and I'm going to help out. Abundance lies in the heart that allows, share more than expected, and see love come around. See the movement that can happen collectively when we act from the heart, sharing in the ways that we can, coming from a place of abundance. You know, in times like this, it can be really easy to come from a place of scarcity. It can be really easy to hunker down in fear and say, well, these are the only things I have, and so I'm going to hold on to them, right? And this card is inviting you into abundance. And listen, I'm not saying deprive yourself of necessary resources, but what I am saying is acting from a place of security, inner security and abundance and heart-centeredness allows you to say, okay, in what ways can I give to others at this time? In what ways can I share my resources, even if they are emotional resources? Sharing your time digitally or virtually to connect with others, maybe offering community delivery services if that's available in your area. Like, find the COVID-19 mutual aid collectives that are grassroots organizing and be part of that. You know, there's something here about you, Sag, having this doorway open to you to be part of heart-centered movement to help gather resources to support the community. Okay, the final card here is one of protection from Karina Dross's deck, the Portable Fortitude deck. All right, love Karina Dross, highly recommend supporting her work at this time. Fabulous astrologer, amazing artist. Okay, let's see. What is the card of protection and fortitude for Sagittarius during this time? One card, please. Card of protection and fortitude. There we go. Yeah, so appropriate. Protection from ennui. Protection from boredom, Sag. We're stuck in our houses, you know? It's like there's only so much you can do tinkering around the house, especially Sag, a sign that wants to move, wants to go, wants to explore, wants to try new things and get out and do all of the things. And it's like at this time that is not necessarily available to you. And so that it's very possible to fall into the frustration of boredom, of feeling trapped, feeling claustrophobic. And so again, I think the directive here is to turn towards asking yourself, okay, if I can't move out of my house, how can I move from my heart? How can I open my energy to exploring other ways of moving that are community oriented, that are supportive, that are opening my world to abundance rather than feeling the contraction of scarcity, feeling the contraction of isolation. Open your energy up and connect with others that will help you feel like movement is happening in your world. Okay. Sag, thanks so much for joining me. If you are seeking deeper guidance at this time, I am offering 10% off of all of my personal readings to absolutely everyone at this time, not just my Patreon patrons. So if you are interested in connecting over a personal reading, please get in touch. You can visit unseenhandshealing.com to learn more and send me an email to book a reading. All right, take care, Sag. I'll talk to you soon. Hi Cap, thanks so much for tuning in as we look deeper into the guidance that is here for you during this time of global health crisis. So we're going to start with the Mary L Tarot, and we're going to ask, what is the guidance that's specifically here for Capricorn energy during this pandemic? All right, what is the guidance? Who is the guide from the tarot that's here to guide Capricorn energy through this time? Who is the guide? Oh, that was fast. Whoa. Okay. The High Priestess. All right. Not playing around, are you? Dang. All right, Cap. This is incredibly deep, subconscious, intuitive, connected energy. This being here is rising up out of the depths of the water. is deeply connected to this larger web that is present underneath the surface, below the surface of things. It's interesting because we've got this interconnected web that seems to be an extension of the priestess that goes down, 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 down into the depths. And then we've also got this web extending up like feelers or antenna coming up out of her head. And so it's like you have access right now, Capricorn, to extrasensory information, psychic information through your subconscious and through this like expansion of consciousness and spiritual connection. The thing about the priestess is, for me, this energy is associated with the moon. As you can see, we've got this like full moon energy that is behind the head of the priestess and also at the feet. And she rises up out of the depths in the dark of the night to offer that deeply subconscious way of communicating insight. It's almost like the language, you know, the priestess speaks in the language of dreams, in the language of symbols and metaphors. And, you know, when the priestess speaks, it's more like this like feeling that rises up from underneath of you that can be very difficult to interpret, but may unravel slowly over time the more you listen to it and the more you intentionally tune in and simply open your energy to connecting with it. So there could be like messages that you are picking up on at this time that are trying to be communicated to you through your subconscious and through that kind of language that is not logical. This is not logic brain energy here, Cap. This is deeply feeling, subconscious, symbolic, metaphoric, intuitive kind of knowledge. That is your guide at this time. And so I think the priestess is calling you into taking some space and getting into water. I just saw the image of her taking you and dipping you into water, dipping you into the watery depths so that you can immerse yourself in her language. This is what keeps coming, is like immersing yourself in tuning your ear to the way the priestess speaks, which is very much like learning a language, learning a new language, because it's not something that is part of Western culture or taught in Western culture to tune into this way of feeling and knowing and sensing. I think she's like wanting to initiate you during this time, because that's what dipping you in the water felt like, this like initiation into her way of speaking and receiving information. Really, really powerful psychic sensing energy, Capricorn. Okay, casual reading for you, Cappies. All right, we're going to the Divine Doorways deck now, and I'm asking what doorways are opening to you at this time where a lot of doors are closing. You know, we are quite literally being asked to close our doors on the outside world and to isolate ourselves at home. We are being, you know, the larger collective, countries are closing their borders. A lot of doors are closing. Feels like the doors are closing for us at this time. And I am asking, like many others, what doors are opening to us at this time? So Capricorn, I'm going to ask what doors are opening for Capricorn at this time? What are the doors that are opening for Capricorn at this time? What doors are opening to Capricorn at this time? Okay. I'm seeing this as a long hallway. That's how I'm seeing this card. There's this beautiful, like, lush spring energy at the end, but it's a long hallway to get there. And the back of the card, it says patience. Yeah. Everything soon will come to light, and then you will see things will be all right. That's it. It's a long hallway, okay? Everything will come to light, but you got to get through this long hallway first. I'm going to show you the back. Patience. Everything soon will come to light, and then you will see things will be all right. All right, Cap? So it's like things will be all right. It's interesting too that we have everything soon will come to light, and we've got the priestess who communicates through the dark spaces within us, and I mean the spaces that are not often accessed or seen by others, and maybe even not often accessed by us consciously. It's like the things that are brewing in your subconscious and in the collective subconscious and in underneath the underpinnings, the undercurrent of what's going on right now will soon come up into consciousness, will soon come up into light. Have patience for this, for what may be a long haul here. Okay? Things will be all right. Interesting that we got that card. Okay. And finally, Cap, I'm going to get you a card of protection from Karina Dross's Portable Fortitude deck. Karina Dross, amazing astrologer and artist. Highly recommend supporting Karina's work at this time. Okay. At this time, maybe even more than others. All right, Karina. Let's see, what is the fortitude, the protection that's here for Capricorn during this time? Stop it. It writes itself. It's incredible. Protection from disturbed sleep. Right? That's what the card says? Yeah, protection from disturbed sleep. Oh my God. I always, when I see this, I always think, catch a tiger by its toe. If it hollers, let it go. Creepy nursery rhyme for you. Exactly, okay? This is the energy that is here. You may be experiencing some major subconscious activity at this time. And it may be really difficult to get a peaceful night's sleep right now. Interesting that this person is buried under the ground, and I kept saying that all of this is happening in the subconscious realm, below the, it's happening under the table, it's happening below the level, it's happening underground. Beneath the surface, there is so much intuitive subconscious activity that is rising up. It will come to light. Have patience during this time, especially if you are finding yourself in feeling disturbed by all of the psychic energy and the unconscious roiling. I'm seeing it as like roiling and writhing underneath. A lot of activity happening underneath of the conscious realm for you. Give it time, give it space, maybe intentionally give yourself space, silence, bath time alone, like dip yourself in water to intentionally call the priestess energy within you. Call your own intuitive energy and say, okay, subconscious, I'm listening. What is it that you're trying to communicate to me at this time? And then sit with your eyes closed and see what comes. In order to relieve your subconscious of having to do all of the work when your eyes are closed and you're trying to rest at night. Meeting your subconscious intentionally through meditation and through just like private alone time with your eyes closed and intentionally focusing on that energy can help relieve some of the pressure cooker that like builds under the surface. Okay. Whoa, 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 you psychic cappies. All right, my friends, thank you so much for joining me for this reading. I hope it was helpful to you. If you are seeking deeper guidance at this time, I am offering 10% off all personal readings for folks, not just my Patreon patrons, but for everybody at this time. So if you'd like a personal reading with me, go to unseenhandshealing.com, read all about my offerings, specifically distance readings at this time, and get in touch. All right, Cappy, take care. Aquarius, hello. Thank you so much for joining me here as we dive deeper into the guidance that is here for you during this pandemic. So we're going to start with the Mary L. Tarot here, asking who is your guide through this time of global unrest, global health crisis. Who is the guide for Aquarius from the tarot during this time? Who is Aquarius's guide through this time? That was fast, huh? Two of Swords. What's beautiful about the Two of Swords energy is its willingness to sit in the unknown. This is Libra moon energy. Libra moon, is often spoken about as being energy of indecisiveness or being an indecision, not being able to make a decision or not being able to make a choice. And I think at this time where we are all being asked to be in this holding pattern, this moment of unknown, this moment of not being sure which way things are going to go. I mean, look, we've got these two boats going in opposite directions at the bottom. It's sort of like, none of us really know how this is all going to play out or how this is going to affect us collectively, let alone individually. And so I think at this time, the Two of Swords is inviting you to lean into that unknown energy, to lean into that holding pattern. Often the Two of Swords is traditionally depicted as someone with two swords crossed over their heart and their eyes either closed or blindfolded. And it's almost like the directives to block off your energy and to block off your physical contact from others are important directives at this time. Please heed them if you aren't already. And in that heeding them, there could be this opportunity to really check in with the way that this is affecting your mind. The Swords energy is air energy and you are an air sign. So here you are in the Two of Swords in this holding pattern with this opportunity to check in with your mental processes and with your thoughts and ideas and how your feelings and what is the relationship between your head and heart, especially in this time of such collective unrest and fear and anxiety and worry. There's something in this card, particularly in the Mary L, in the book on this deck, she talks about this card being one of a warrior. And this sort of being like samurai armor, okay? And so if you consider that position of non-action that we are being called into at this time as being the path of the warrior, as being the action that you can take is actually non-action, I think that's what this is inviting you into. That's the armor at this time that is very important for all of us to take on. It is protection of self and protection of others. As we determine which way to go. Before we can move forward, first there is this time of shutting down. And then what is available to you and what's going on in your mental space during the shutdown. How can this shutdown further strengthen you? Strengthen your warrior self? How can you wear it like armor? Okay. Next, we're going to get you a card from the Divine Doorways. Okay. A lot of doors are closing to us right now, Aquarius. The doors of our access access to the outside world, to other countries, to travel, to just eating at our favorite restaurants and joining in with our friends. Those doors are closing right now. I, like many others, want to know what doors are opening. So what doors are opening for Aquarius at this time? What are the doors that are opening for Aquarius? Okay, wow. Who else got this? Libra, your fellow air sign, got this. Palmistry is what it says on the back. Fortune and Tarot, collective destiny. The palm lines from birth tell your sacred palmistry. And the little asterisk down here says, listen to the notes of intuition. You know, as we're being called into this holding pattern, many people interpret the Two of Swords as a card of meditation. You know, you're closing off your energy, you're closing your eyes, and you're opening the mind, opening that air space. It's like as you do that, perhaps there's this opportunity, a deeper opportunity to connect with tools of divination, tools like tarot, palmistry, astrology, things that help you connect the larger collective dots and then of course apply them individually. And it's like, because we've got this time separate from others, you have even more time to dive into those resources as tools for grounding and for specifically listening to your intuition. Because again, if this is a card of meditation and this little asterisk down here says listen to the notes of intuition, this is a time for listening. What tools do you have at your disposal to help you listen deeper and connect with yourself even more? Okay, and then this final bit here, a protection card from the Portable Fortitude deck by Karina Dross. Okay, Karina Dross, this beautiful deck by astrologer and artist. What is the fortitude, the protection available for Aquarius at this time? What is the protection card for Aquarius at this time? Aha. Stop it. Yeah, protection from rebirth as an insect. Oh my goodness, I love it, I love it, I love it. Major metamorphosis vibes, right? Maybe you need to read Metamorphosis right now. Maybe that's a message for you. Okay, what's really funny to me about this is like, there's a fear and a paranoia present in the story of Metamorphosis. This fear of, you know, dying and being reborn as like a lower life form, like an insect or a beetle, and having to navigate the world through the microcosm. That's the message that's coming through this for you. Something about having to navigate the world through the microcosm that feels really scary at this time. Which is interesting because, you know, we're facing a virus that is very much operating on the micro level. It's operating on a level that is microscopic, that we cannot see with the naked eye. And so I think there's something about like operating on that level that is not one that we are normally as humans privy to, that I think is feeling scary maybe at this time. Maybe that's where I was feeling this like invitation to look at the way that anxiety and mental processes and like the what your brain is doing in all of this. Maybe that's where that's coming into play. Yeah. You know what's also interesting about Metamorphosis is like the person wakes up one day and is suddenly turned into a cockroach or turned into a bug. And there's something incredibly disorienting about that. It's like suddenly you have to see your world from a completely different vantage point, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. And I can't actually think of a better metaphor for where this pandemic could lead us. You know, people are talking about like life before COVID-19 and life after COVID-19, and it could feel as disorienting as like, you know, going to sleep and being reborn the next day as a freaking cockroach, you know? There's also something interesting about beetle and cockroach imagery as being survivors, as being like, people always joke that at the end of the world, even after the apocalypse, even if there was, if the planet like exploded, there would still be cockroaches because they are able to survive in absolutely any conditions. And so, I think I'm feeling like a fear of having to survive in any conditions. There's something about Aquarius energy that's incredibly realistic, incredibly collectively minded. And I think like some of y'all might be seeing the bigger picture here, and you might be going full on apocalypse thoughts, like full on, this is the zombie apocalypse and this is what's about to happen. And listen, I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't know where this is going to lead, but those are all of the energies and questions and thoughts that are coming up for me when I see this card. And so I think that's part of what's swirling in here, and perhaps part of the dots that you are connecting through these tools of examining the larger patterns of things. And so I want to invite you into, yes, do your collective dot connecting, but also do your personal dot connecting. Now you have the time and space to do it. Do it. Connect with yourself. Connect with your intuition. What has your deep inner life, your heart, your soul been trying to say to you that you haven't had the time to actually hear in the busyness of your world? Now that that busyness is taken away for many of us, what is here for you? Okay. All right, Aquarius, hope that was helpful for you. If you are seeking deeper guidance at this time, I am offering 10% off all personal readings, not only to my Patreon patrons, but to everyone at this time. So if you would like to get in touch with me for a personal reading, you can go to unseenhandshealing.com, where you can read about my offerings, my distance offerings, and send me an email. We will connect, okay? All right, Aquarius, thanks for watching and take care. Pisces, hello. Thank you so much for tuning in as we look deeper into the guidance that is available to you, Pisces energy, at this time of global health crisis. So we're going to start by looking at the Mary L Tarot and asking, who is your guide through this time? Who is the guide specifically here for Pisces energy during this time navigating this pandemic? Who is the guide that's here for Pisces to help navigate? Okay, whoa. Wow, the Tower. Very strong, powerful energy here, Pisces. You know, lightning strikes the towers that we built and leaves them burning, flaming, absolutely crumbling to the ground. And there's really nothing we can do when that happens. You know, it's like lightning striking the tower is a force of nature. It is a force of something much greater than us, acting on these like towers, these structures, these very human infrastructures that we try to build. And then something larger than us comes along, like a pandemic, like a virus that we are somewhat powerless to in a lot of ways, and changes our entire world. Everything we've built seems to be coming crumbling down, and that can be an incredibly scary experience to navigate. But in my experience, the Tower energy doesn't happen for no reason. You know, the infrastructure is crumbling because it had cracks in the foundation that meant when lightning strikes, it would crumble right away, you know? And so there's an opportunity in the wake of this dumpster fire, I think, that is the Tower, to rebuild something even stronger from a collective perspective. And however this is hitting your individual life, Pisces, what structures is this? What cracks in your structure is this revealing? This pandemic, how is it revealing cracks in your mental structure, your emotional structures, your physical structures, your relationship structures, your work structures? And where is there an invitation to rebuild and reinforce that strength, those structures in a different way? Okay, that's the guide that's here for you. And we're going to go to the Divine Doorways deck here and specifically ask what doorways are opening to Pisces at this time. Because, you know, a lot of doors are closing to us as the borders are shutting down, as travel is incredibly limited, if not banned altogether. The doorways to our homes are being shut. So there's a lot of doors closing to us right now. And I'm wondering, as many others are, what doors are opening for Pisces at this time? So what is the door that is opening for Pisces? Beautiful. Okay. Lovely. Look at this lush, beautiful greenery. So much growth. And it says the Three of Cups, which is a card in the tarot for those of you that don't know. And it says, a toast to friendship in the afternoon sun, 3 cups in happiness, 3 cheers are done. And it says celebration is near. So there's an opening here, a doorway into connection with others, into celebration, celebrating community and celebrating connections and friendships. Obviously in ways that don't involve physical contact at this time, and still honoring what the CDC and the directives are to socially distance. And yet the Three of Cups is here talking about celebrating with friends and connecting with friends. And so Pisces, I think you are being invited here to shift, allow your structures for connection with others to shift. It's a necessary structural shift that's happening at this time. Allow that to happen without losing the sense of community and connection with others. Okay? That opportunity, that doorway is still open to you, even if it feels like that door has closed. It has not. It's just asking you to shift the way you go about it. Okay, now Pisces, we're going to get you a card of protection. These Portable Fortitude cards by Karina Dross, astrologer, artist, someone that you could absolutely support at this time if you have the resources to do so. Okay, what is the card of protection for Pisces at this time? Protection for Pisces energy at this time. Protection from bicycle mishap. It's interesting, this card came out for somebody else. What's interesting about this card to me is this idea of limited travel and the symbol of a bicycle, which would be these wheels that help you get from one place to another. You have this invitation to connect with others, but in a completely different structure than you have been connecting. And I think that involves, a lack of being able to travel to connect with people physically in shared spaces. It's like, if you can't ride your bike to get from one place to another, how can you connect with others? And so that's what this bicycle mishap keeps wanting to communicate to me as it's coming out. Is like, this person's on wheels, and they can get to each other because they've got the wheels to do it. They can hop on their bike, they can hop in their car, whatever, and they can get from one place to another. What happens when something larger, a force larger than you comes in and cuts off that ability to travel? Okay, how can you still connect? What doorways are still open to you? What structures are still open to you for connection? And how can you completely shift the ways that you connect with others at this time? Okay, Pisces, I hope that was helpful for you. If you are seeking deeper guidance during this intense time, I am offering 10% off all personal readings, not only to my Patreon patrons, but to absolutely everyone at this time. So you can learn more at unseenhandshealing.com and get in touch with me to book a personal reading if that is something that you would like to do at this time. All right, Pisces, thanks for listening and take care.